one out loud.
Okay. In the past, the railroads in Australia were run as regional monopolies and operated with little regard for what customers wanted.
Okay, so what does that mean? Tell me that in your own words.
That the railroads in Australia were run as monopolies and they really didn't care what customers wanted.
Perfect.
Okay. In recent years, with improvements to the Australian National Highway Network, the railroad companies have faced heavy competition from long distance trucking companies.
Okay.
But
Good. Yep.
Okay. But because of government subsidies that have permitted Australian railroad companies to operate, even while incurring substantial losses, the companies continue to disregard customers' needs and desires.
All right. So what is that saying?
I think it's.
Oh, did that just go blurry? Sorry. There we go.
Even though that they're getting government subsidies and they're getting help to operate, they still continue to disregard what customers want and need.
Yeah. So like when I read this, I'm like, this is ironic. Like we're like, okay, so we have these companies that are little monopolies, like regional monopolies, and then they had heavy competition like against these trucking companies in these recent years. So then the government gave them money to help them operate, so they didn't incur so they didn't go into more debt. But then but because they got this money, they still don't care about what customers want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's ironic, but okay.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and start with A and tell me what you think.
If the government of Australia ceases to subsidize railroad companies, few of those companies will continue to operate.
Do you like it, leave it, hate it?
I don't like it.
Okay, why?
Because they're not talking about the government stopping, right?
Yeah, we don't know if the government were to stop, but we don't know that if the government were to stop,
yeah,
these companies would continue to operate. Like maybe someone else would come in and pay the debt of the railroad companies to allow them to keep operating.
Okay. Okay, few companies in Australia that have received subsidies from the government have taken the needs and desires of their customers into account. No.
Why is this? I think this is a tricky answer. Why is this one wrong?
I look at it as it doesn't mention few, it just says.
Oh, wait, no, there's something else. Or close, it's right in there. You're right there. Sorry. Few companies? What are we talking about? Are we talking about companies in general?
No.
Who are we talking about?
The railroad?
Yeah, the railroad companies.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's not.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Without government subsidies, railroad companies in Australia would have to increase the prices they charge their customers. I feel like they don't have to because they're getting subsidies, I believe.
Well, that's what's happening. Yes, you're right. That's what's happening in our stimulus. But what happens if we don't get the government subsidies? Would they have to increase their prices?
Yeah.
Would they though? I'm sorry.
Actually, I guess we don't know.
In common sense world, in our we'd be like, yeah, that's what you do, right? But maybe they get $1 billion donor that comes in and buys them all out, right? And they don't have to increase their prices.
But can I bring in like outside information like that with that answer?
Sorry, no, that's me. Not this answer is wrong, but that's me like saying like telling myself like this doesn't have to be true because this happened or something. Like we aren't told that this is the only way. But I think sometimes when we go through this and we're not critical, we just assume like, yeah, you have to increase your prices because that's the only way that they could make money. It's like, well, we actually don't know that.
Yeah, that's the answer I actually picked because I was like, I don't know.
Oh, I think that's tricky because I think that's what we think would be true.
But because it's not mentioned in there, and that's why it's not true, right? It just
Right, yeah, we don't know. We have no idea what would happen without government subsidy.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm getting like this.
Yep.
Okay, cool. The transportation system in Australia is no more efficient today than it was in the past. It doesn't really say anything about that.
Yeah, and it also, and this is, even if it did say like it was, I don't know, but it's saying no more efficient. So couldn't we still be, a lot of people pick this answer too, because they're like, yeah, but we're in debt. And it's like, but couldn't we be in debt and still be more efficient today, but we still just suck?
Yeah.
Like, and so that's why D is wrong.
Okay. And then in recent years, some companies in Australia that have had little regard for the desires of their customers have nonetheless survived.
Which, by the way, what does some mean?
More than like just a little, 0 to 50%?
At least one.
At least one. Okay.
I love how mild that is. So saying in recent years, at least one company in Australia that have had little regard for their customers have survived. Must that be true on our stimulus?
Yeah, that's true based on it.
Yeah, so that's our answer.
Cool. Okay. That seems a lot easier than.
No,
Okay.
these ones, I think these one, I just looked it up. These were the hardest level on that document.